So yeah, final speaker is Chris Tabb. So I'd like to welcome Chris to the stage. He'll be speaking about using NFTs to underpin the structural dynamics of DAOs. So welcome, thank you.
Check, check. We're good here. Awesome. Excellent, excellent. So I'm just gonna go cold, right? I didn't really prepare a deck, but as my co-founder always tells me, if you can't do 10 minutes cold, you shouldn't be in the space. So we're gonna jump into it. I'm actually gonna take a seat just because I've been standing all day, and I can also just take a look at my time here. So where I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna talk fast because I'm gonna try to cover a couple of different concepts here, but I'm gonna start off with a concept, right? Often you hear in these DAOs or these communities, you hear people talk about NFTs immediately, right? What I'm going to talk to you about is a concept that we built, and we didn't use the word NFT until 3 months into it, right? So Mosh is here. We've got a couple other players involved, but what I represent is a DAO called Resistance DAO, right? And we're going to just start there with the name, Resistance, right? I bet every single person in this room can identify with the word resistance, and probably every single person's opinion or thought of what that word means is different. That's why it's beautiful. That's why it works, right? Good brands, essentially say a lot of things, but they don't mean anything. They mean things to different people. So we start off with this idea of the resistance. The other thing I did is I refused to build it on Discord, right? I would not build it on Discord. We did not have a Twitter account. I refused those things after day one. Where do we build? LinkedIn. Why? Because I was going after people who I didn't want them to be anonymous. I wanted to know the type of work that they did. I wanted to know their specialties. I wanted to see who else they were connected to, right? So I'm getting to NFTs, right? But I'm starting at the origin story here. So we go ahead and we build this DAO, right? Not really a DAO, it's a LinkedIn group, let's be honest. And I built it in phases. This is another thing that I have not heard talked about here, right? Because often when we talk about NFT projects or communities, we often talk in terms of consumerism, right? And in a consumer-based audience, you're really just looking for numbers. You're not looking for a specific type of person. So I went out and I built the first iteration of the DAO, focused on early stage entrepreneurs, right? So pre-MVP, pre-revenue, all of those things. Why did I want to go after that audience first? Because frankly, honestly, they were the easiest, right? What do these people want? And you're going to hear me say this word a couple times in the next couple of minutes. Want, right? Want. What do these people want? They want exposure. They want to get in front of VCs, right? They want to get in front of hedge, managers, fund managers, people who can help them out, right? That could even be me. That could be you. So we build this group, and we start putting people on camera every Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday, and we built this to the point where we were getting between 500 and 800 people on a LinkedIn Live on a Tuesday morning, right? Insane. Even though you see some of these LinkedIn events out there, they're not getting those types of numbers regularly. How do we do it? Well, first we brought in the early stage entrepreneurs. The second audience that I went after was the investor community, right? So you see what I'm starting to build here. I'm building a layer of entrepreneurs. I'm then putting a sprinkle layer on top of that of investment, right? And then the third layer I'm putting on top of that is where I go after the service providers. So we're going to go back to the concept of want real quick, right? Why was that group successful? Why was that DAO successful? Because in each one of those audiences, we were able to satisfy each one of those entities, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Essentially, their wants. The entrepreneurs, they want exposure. The VCs, they want deal flow, right? What do the service providers want? Well, they want to piggyback off the successful NFTs so they can get more money and do more business, right? You don't hear that concept talked about. Symbiotic communities, right? That feed off of each other and drive and grow off of each other. So we're building this group, and it occurred to us that we run a real danger of just being a LinkedIn group, right? You got to make that jump at some point, either into a real business. You got to take it somewhere off. You got to take it somewhere off of LinkedIn. That's most important. So we started kicking around this idea of, well, how do we really tap into this audience that we built, right? Again, early stage entrepreneurs, investors, service providers. So if anybody's got their phone on them, I can't imagine anybody would, but if anybody has their phone on them, go check out a website called RedRex.com, okay? And we worked with these guys. They essentially were born during COVID, like many companies, and they said, hey, what does a metaverse mean to us? And it's actually the complete opposite of what I've heard everybody talk about when they talk about metaverse, right? What do people talk about metaverse? They talk about immersive experiences. They talk about 3D, right? That is none of those things. If you go to RedRex, it is actually going to be lowered expectations. You're going to get in there, and what do they do? They have a building. They have a concept of every single building structure on Earth is mapped back to this metaverse, let's call it, right? Inside that metaverse, you go into a building, and you have to have an NFT to get into the building, right? You might have to have an NFT to get onto a specific floor. You might have to have an NFT to get into a room. So you see where I'm starting to go with this, right? I started in the reverse. I didn't start with the NFT up front. I started off with the audience, and I built the audience in a way so that when we did say the word NFT, and we incorporated things like what I'm gonna talk to you about here, and I've got 3 minutes and 52 seconds left, what we did there, right, is we let those people operate in a capacity that they normally would operate in, but they don't have the connections. So let me explain what I mean by that. So we bring them into this RedRex building. We end up building, I think, 64, 65 floors of innovation. And what do I mean by a floor of innovation? A floor of innovation could be DAOs. It could be a venture capital fund. It could be, help me out, Mosh, different accelerators, incubators, right? We brought in recruiters. But we also put together some floors where we allowed these founders to come together and work together and build products. And in fact, there was a product that was born out of this metaverse, let's call it, right? Look it up, Lockbox. Lockbox is a solution that was born out of discussions that were taking place, and we identified two founders that were working on very similar tech, but they didn't know it, and we brought them together, and we put them inside this RedRex building, and there they go. They've got their own office, they can do hangouts, they've got a social board, they can communicate with each other, but also NFTs is where it comes back to again, right? NFTs. If I want to go work in this Lockbox office, I've got to have a special NFT. Right? If I want to go to the, kind of Joe Rogan-esque, like off-the-record, scotches in hand and smoking cigars, right, inside of our social club floor, got to have an NFT for that, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is I use the word structural underpinning, but I probably shouldn't have said that because it's really the tasty cake on the top. That's what the NFT is. It's the way we built the community that makes it go, right? It's not the project, it's not any of those things, which I would say is really in stark contrast to a lot of, what you typically hear. So I've got 2 minutes left here. I'll just do a quick pitch here for, so Resistance DAO, if you guys haven't joined it, please do. It is a vibrant community on LinkedIn. We have tons and tons of, I'm surprised if we had more than 10 people in the room right now, we'd probably have some Resistance DAO people. But go ahead, connect with me. Chris Tabb, I'll send you a link, I'll get you hooked up. We'll bring you into the RedRex room, I'll drop you a free NFT, and you get introduced to this vibrant community of 1,500 people in a RedRex building. We've got 2,500 people on LinkedIn. We've got about 1,200 people following our LinkedIn page. But we have a heck of a network. And you guys are getting this first, but we're about to actually make a major announcement with a very large collective who does a lot of TradFi and DeFi, and they're essentially going to be coming in and they're going to be doing $100,000 rewards, and they're going to be allowing projects to come in, work up deal flow, they'll award them the money, and then anybody who holds that NFT, right, would get royalties coming off of it. So join the group, follow, and we'll certainly get that information out. Now, for anybody left in the room that I haven't murdered with my just dull talking voice here at 5:35 in the afternoon. Does anybody have any questions? I'm an open book. You have any questions about strategy, the DAO, projects, how to get involved? Hey, if you want to come on our Tuesday morning meeting and you want to get exposure to 500 to 800 people, connect with me on LinkedIn. We'll make it happen. We love to have good conversations. So I think I'm going to be the first. I'm going to drop off with 35 seconds left. Craziness, right? But I know everybody is probably itching to get to the bar, so I'm not going to hold you up on that one. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day.